Hello, I am Greg Brizendine. Today, I'm going to tell you about 4 of the biggest blunders I have made as a people leader and what I learned from each one of them so you don't have to make those same mistakes. But first, I am a facilitator and a professional coach for people who want to get better at people leadership and better at performance measurement. Today is going to be all about getting better at people leadership. I think that learning from mistakes is one of the most powerful ways that we do learn. And in this webinar, I'm going to talk about some of my mistakes as a people leader and what I learned from those and how you can learn from my mistakes and avoid making them yourself. I know from experience that being a better people leader is a learnable skill. With what you'll learn today and a little bit of practice, you will increasingly be one of those leaders that people seek out. In this webinar, you'll hear about how to avoid those mistakes and just get the learning part, which is like eating a donut without actually having to learn how to make a donut. You're welcome. First, though, a little bit more about me. I've been a people leader in for-profit and nonprofit organizations for more than 35 years. I regularly hear from folks who have reported to me that my leadership mattered to them, that I made their job better. This is humbling and rewarding, and from this feedback, and also because I just pay attention, I know I'm pretty good at it, but I wasn't always. I've made mistakes and will likely continue to. What I'll tell you about today is a few of those mistakes, the blunders, if you will, that I've made and what I've learned from them. Anyone, of course, can give you a list of things they've done right. I have one of those lists as well. I think this is a meatier conversation, and I think it's more fun. All right, let's get to it. Blunder number 1, I call this all things to all people. On all of these, I'm going to give you just a short summary of it before I get you into the meat of the story. So all things to all people, how I knew something had gone wrong. My team marched into my office one day and confronted me for my inconsistent leadership. What I did to cause it. I held and communicated different expectations for different members of my team, thinking that was a way to meet everyone where they were. I had such good intentions. What I learned. Humans crave consistency because we need predictability. An unpredictable situation requires a high level of attention, and that's not sustainable in a work environment. All right, here's the story. Early in my career, I found myself thrust into a leadership role, tasked with leading a small team of sales, marketing, and operations professionals. I was definitely a novice manager. I was eager to connect with each team member individually, accommodating their preferences for communication and feedback. Some preferred emails, others preferred face-to-face conversations, and still others preferred phone calls. It seemed like the right thing to do at the time to meet each employee where they were. But as time went on, I felt the unintended consequences of my approach. Juggling multiple communication styles and expectations became overwhelming, and soon, cracks began to show. The team members, who of course had been comparing notes among themselves, grew frustrated with my inconsistency in how I set expectations. They felt that my expectations of them were unclear and inconsistent, and by the way, they were right, leading to confusion and resentment. The breaking point came when the entire team marched into my office one day, united in their dissatisfaction, demanding to air their grievances. In that moment, I realized the gravity of the situation. Maybe it would have been better if I had realized it, a month before. I realized the gravity of the situation because I had no idea what to do. I'd been trying so hard to be liked by my employees that I lost sight of what actually mattered, which is earning their respect as a leader. That confrontation was a wake-up call for me. It made me realize that being liked as a leader, not the same as being respected. I figured out the only way to scale as a leader was to be consistent and predictable in my approach. So from that day forward, I made a conscious effort to be transparent about my expectations for everyone's performance. I communicated clearly, established consistent channels of communication, and ensure that everyone knew what they could expect from me. Transitioning to a more consistent leadership style wasn't really easy at first because it required me to set aside my desire for immediate gratification in, again, having people like me and focus on the long-term success of the team. But as I became a more predictable leader, people started to relax, and I began to earn the respect and trust of my team. They appreciated the clarity and fairness of my approach, and our working relationships improved significantly as a result. All right, here's your takeaway. By striving for flexibility, I created inconsistency, and the team revolted. Humans crave consistency, again, because we need predictability, sure. We're creative and we innovate and we love surprises. But in the day-to-day, we want our environment to be predictable because an unpredictable situation requires a high level of attention, and that is just not sustainable in a work environment. So as a leader, be predictable and consistent so your team can create and innovate and be surprised. That's the takeaway I took from it. What did you get from that? Is there a different takeaway that you got, something different maybe that you learned or heard? I'd love to hear about that.